In Creo Parametric, you can calculate the cross-section mass properties for a part or an assembly. The way that you do that is by going to the Analysis tab, and then from the Mass Properties dropdown, you can choose Cross-Section Mass Properties. Before I start showing you how to use this dialog box, I need to explain the different kinds of calculations that you're going to get from this. And in order to do that, we're going to the Mathcad. PTC Mathcad, please report to the dance floor. PTC Mathcad, please report to the dance floor. Here I am in PTC Mathcad Prime, which I have used to document the different calculations related to cross-section mass properties. And the reason that we use cross-section mass properties is to help us calculate bending, torsion, and shear stresses for different structural members. To do that, we need to use something called the inertia. And the inertia is the rotational analog to mass. If you think about Newton's second law, we know that F equals ma. Force is equal to the product of mass times the acceleration. When you are talking about rotations, the corresponding quantity to force is the torque. And torque is equal to the moment of inertia times the angular acceleration. This moment of inertia is defined as the summation of all the masses times the square of the distances from those masses. And the way that you calculate the moment of inertia is with respect to a given location in your model. Very often, this is done with respect to the centroid, and the centroid is the location of the center of mass with respect to a given coordinate system. And you have formulas that you can use for calculating the center of mass in the x and the y directions for a cross section. The centroid in the x direction is the integral of the x values times the slices of the area divided by the total area. And corresponding for the location of the centroid in the y direction, well, it's going to be the integral of the y coordinate with respect to the slices of A divided by the total area. Another quantity to be aware of is something called the inertia tensor, which is a matrix that provides a summary of the area moments and the product of inertia. And so for a cross section, the inertia tensor is going to have 4 different values. Along the diagonal, you're going to have the moment of inertia with respect to the x direction and the moment of inertia with respect to the y direction. On the other sides of the diagonal, you have the moment of inertia in the x direction about the y-axis and the moment of inertia in the y direction about the x-axis, but this matrix is symmetric. That means that I sub xy is equal to I sub yx. How do we calculate these moments of inertia? Well, earlier in this worksheet, I showed you that the moment of inertia is equal to the summation of the masses times their locations. And so the moment of inertia in the x direction is going to be the summation of the masses times the square of the y values, and the moment of inertia in the y direction is going to be the summation of the masses times the square of the x coordinate. These are called the area moments. On the diagonals, those 2 values that you have over there, that's called the product of the inertia, and that is equal to the summation of all the masses times the x coordinate times the y coordinate. Some more quantities. You have the polar moment of inertia, and this gives you a measurement of the resistance of torsion about an axis. And the formula for the polar moment of inertia is the integral of all the locations dA, or in other words, for a cross-sectional area, the integral of x squared plus y squared dA. For the radii of gyration, that's going to give you the distance from the centroid that would correspond to a shape having the same moment of inertia. And the calculation of the radii of gyration in the x direction is going to be the moment of inertia in the x direction divided by the area. In the y direction, it's the same thing, but it's using the moment of inertia in the y direction. And one last quantity to be aware of is the section modulus. The section modulus helps us calculate our bending stresses. And the section modulus is going to be equal to the moment of inertia divided by the distance from the centroid to like the outer lying fiber. And so the calculation for the bending stresses, sigma sub b, is equal to the moment divided by the section modulus. So that is a very quick overview of some of the different quantities for moment of inertia related to cross-sectional mass properties. Let's go back to Creo Parametric. Okay, here I am in Creo Parametric. We've got the cross-section mass properties dialog box open, and I'm going to need to select a plane that we're going to measure the cross-sectional properties for. Let me go to my InGraphics toolbar and go to my datum visibility and turn on my plane display. And so first off, let's use this plane over here for calculating our cross-section mass properties. Be aware that you also have a collector if you want to measure that with respect to a different coordinate system, but here we're using the default coordinate system. I'm going to zoom in over here, and you can see our cross-section goes through this I-beam over here. There is a coordinate system with the 1, 2, and 3 directions. Since we're doing the cross-sectional mass properties, we're primarily concerned with the 1 and 2 directions, which corresponds to, you can think of them as x and y. Let's make this dialog box a little bit bigger. And so here we have in here that we have our cross-sectional area, and then we have our center of gravity with respect to our coordinate frame. And our coordinate frame right now is located over here, and you can see that for our x value we have it offset some distance, and then we have it offset another distance in the y direction. And so this is why it is often a good idea to calculate it with respect to a coordinate system of interest. So for example, I can go to my drop-down list and turn on my coordinate system visibility. And there's another coordinate system in here. I can click in the collector and in this case select this particular coordinate system, and the values are going to change, and I happen to select a coordinate system that's right in the middle of the beam, and so for that reason now the center of gravity or the centroid with respect to that particular coordinate system is 0, 0. We're not offset some weird large values from this default coordinate system over here. All right, going back through here, we have our inertia tensor, and as it tells you along the diagonal, we have the moment of inertia in the x direction and the moment of inertia in the y direction. And in this particular case, you can see over here, the x corresponds to the 1 direction, which is vertical. The y direction corresponds to the 2 direction, which is horizontal. And you can see that our inertia tensor, our moment of inertia in the x direction right now is about 930. I'm not sure what set of units that I'm in. And the value in the y direction is about 26.8 in here. And by the way, sometimes it can be a little difficult reading in here, especially when you're dealing with different tables, as I'll show you later on in here. So to make it easier to read, you can click on this display information button, which will bring it up in a old style, kind of like Unix dialog box. But the nice thing about this is you can go to the File drop-down menu and choose Save, and save this out to a text file, and then you can read this into Word or Excel and manipulate it in there as well. All right, so let's go back to the information that we're looking at. So here is our inertia tensor. Again, it's giving us our moments of inertia with respect to that coordinate system here that we had selected. Then we have the polar moment of inertia. It's giving us the value for that. And as I was saying, the polar moment of inertia, that's what tells you about resisting torsion about the axis. All right, let's see next things that we have in here. We have the inertia at the center of gravity with respect to the CS4 coordinate system. Again, same values that we had before. Here we have the area moments of inertia with respect to the principal axes. So again, that gives us our I values, those moments of inertia, and you'll notice that there's corresponding to these same values over here. More polar moment of inertia. Rotational matrix from that coordinate system to the principal axes. All right, radii of gyration over here. So again, it tells us what distance from the centroid would give us the same moment of inertia as this particular shape. And then we have our section moduli and the corresponding points. And so for the section moduli about the one axis over here, we can see what the modulus values are, and then we can see the points where those are calculated. And so here we have a couple points that are being used over here for calculating the modulus. If you take a look in the image, we can see these little sort of like target symbols over here. So I can see that this particular location is 8 and some change, and then 3 and some change in the 2 direction. So based on that, I'm thinking that if this is the 1 direction, this is the section modulus at this particular location. And then we have another one which is negative of those values. And again, corresponding to the 1 in the 2 directions, and also the 1 in the 2 directions over here. That should be the section modulus at this particular point over here. And then for the section modulus about axis 2 over here, it's using a point at -9 and +3. So I'm guessing that that is, let's see, this location over here. And the other location that it's using for the section modulus is +9 and +3, which is this lower point over here. And so that's how it's giving you the section moduli at these 4 different points over here, which you can see with those little target symbols located in here. So this is how you can measure the cross-sectional mass properties in an assembly. And one thing I want to point out again is that it really does matter what you're using as the plane and what you are using as your reference coordinate system. So for example, let's go over here and I'm going to activate the plane collector. Let's use this particular plane over here. And so the way that's slicing through the assembly is that it's getting this beam on the left and this beam on the right. And here you can notice that we have our centroid, and right now it's measuring it with respect to the CS4 coordinate system. So it's giving us these various different values over here with respect to that. Hey, let's change the coordinate system, and maybe this time I do want to use the assembly default coordinate system, and so the values change over here. And similarly, we can pop this out into its own separate window, and you can see the various different values for the inertia tensor. This time you'll notice that we do have values for our products of inertia, and again they're the same because this is a symmetric matrix. And you can see all the other different information inside of here. Let's close out of there. And when you create these different measurements, you have 3 different choices. You can do quick, which is, hey, I just want to look at these values or pop them out into a separate window and save the text file. Or you can choose saved, and if you choose saved, this will make this as a saved analysis that you can quickly access over and over again. That way I don't have to keep on changing the plane that I'm using or the coordinate system that I'm using. If I click the OK button and I want to get back to that, I can click on the saved analysis icon, and here's the section properties, and I can double click on it to bring the dialog box back up to see the different values. All right, let's cancel out of here and close the saved analyses. And in the assembly, I want to do the cross-section mass properties one more time. Let's go to the mass properties overflow and then choose the cross-section mass properties. This time I'm going to use this plane. And by the way, that's another thing to note. For the planes that you are using, you're typically using assembly datum planes rather than part planes. Let's use this particular coordinate system. And in this particular case, I selected a datum plane that doesn't actually intersect with my model. So in this case, it doesn't work. So I need to create an additional datum plane for my calculation. Let's select this datum plane over here. Then from the mini toolbar, I can choose to create a datum plane. Let me drag this upward so that it slices through the model. Let's use a value of 8 for the offset. Then I can click the OK button. Now let's go back to the Analysis tab, go to Mass Properties, Cross-Section Mass Properties, and right now it is calculating it with respect to the default coordinate system. Again, if you wanted to select it explicitly or select a different coordinate system, you can. And in this way, we're getting the cross-section mass properties of slicing through all three of these beams. Now let's take a look at an example of calculating this for a part model. And I'm going to select this particular beam. Let's click the open icon from the quick access toolbar. And here I've got the model over here. Let me turn on the display of my various different datum planes in here. And so now we can go to, oh, and I also want to see where my default coordinate system is. Okay, notice that's all the way there on this particular end. Let's now go to our Analysis tab and then go to the Mass Properties dropdown, Cross-Section Mass Properties. For the plane that I want to use, let's select this plane over here. And so there you can see where we have the location of our center of gravity in here, and we're getting our different calculations. If I want to calculate it with respect to a particular coordinate system, hey, we can select this particular coordinate system that's located closer to it. And in this particular case, if you take a look in here, we're getting our centroid inside of the material. But if we change the plane that we're using, for example, use this plane over here, well, we're getting our centroid that's located a little bit offset from the geometry. So it's possible for your centroid not to lie within the cross section itself. And once again, you can scroll through here and see the various different information. Click the information button to display it in a separate different window. And you can see information like the radii of gyration, your section moduli, your polar moments of inertia, and so on. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more information, please visit www.creowindshield.com. If you learned something from this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this video, please click the subscribe button to be informed when new videos are uploaded. Thank you very much.